This is Robert Kraft, and I'm your host on SNN.Network. And joining me right now is Barry Poe. He is the CMO and Executive Vice President at mCloud Technologies, publicly traded company. I got two symbols for you: MCLD on the TSX Venture and MCLDF on the OTCQB. Barry, good to see you. How you doing?
Doing well, thank you. It's good to see you too.
It's great to have you on. So we last did an interview with a member of the mCloud team. We published that on December 22nd, 2020. So, Barry, you got to catch us up. It's your job. You got to catch us up. What would you say are some of the highlights since that interview?
Well, there's been a lot that's gone on since you probably spoke to us last in December. We have really been on a major ESG drive over the last little while, as we've seen a lot of our customers now coming and asking us for how they can help with applying AI and new technologies to help them improve their ESG standing. In February, we announced a partnership with Invest Alberta Corporation. Part of that is a relocation of our global corporate headquarters to Calgary. What is maybe most important about that is the support and the sponsorship of the provincial government, as well as a number of other agencies, to look at ways in which we can bring mCloud's technology to the province, to look at ways in which we can help apply technology to decarbonize the oil and gas industry. So that's super exciting for us. That's opened up a lot of doors for us since we announced that in February. We made a lot of progress around providing solutions around fugitive gas emissions and leak detection. So super exciting from that perspective. We just released our first ESG annual report. So if anyone's interested, go to our website, download the report. But it talks a lot about our story around how we're using AI to help our customers improve their ESG standing, as well as look at ways in which we can apply our own technology to adhere to our own commitments.
So Barry, I want to follow up on that point. Why is using AI technology considered to help your potential client's ESG score? Explain that for me.
Well, there are a lot of places today where a lot of the emissions, like the CO2 equivalent emissions that you see in industries like oil and gas, come from the fact that these assets that are essentially in production and deployment today, they're not running at their best. They're not running optimally. There are lots of places where energy is wasted. There are places where every single time a facility, for instance, has an unplanned downtime event, you're creating a flaring incident that creates those kinds of emissions. So every time that we can apply AI to get connected to that infrastructure, that's an opportunity for us to eliminate unnecessary energy that doesn't need to be consumed. That's an opportunity for us to reduce the amount of flaring that happens. And every single time that we're able to directly reduce one of those events, we're directly having an impact on greenhouse gas emissions. So that's what's really exciting about AI, is you can bring these into these businesses, connect those assets really cost efficiently, provide the benefit without necessarily needing to bring in new hardware. So it's really, really exciting from that perspective. It's kind of the magic of big data and software at work for these businesses.
Absolutely. Yeah. Cause look, ESG is very important. Everyone's talking about it. And so I was just curious as to how that integration might work. You can kind of come up with some ideas, but it's good to hear what you guys are doing.
There's definitely more science than there is magic, but it seems like magic if you're not.
No, that's good. So, of all these news announcements that the company's put out, you guys put out quite a few since December. What's the one or two that you think investors should really focus on the most, because that'll give them some indication as to some of the initiatives moving forward?
Yeah, well, I just talked a little bit about ESG. Everything that we've done around the ESG space is going to be a major driver for us in terms of looking at our growth. I would say that a lot of the businesses now, especially with the elevated interest and awareness of how important ESG is from an accounting and financial perspective, you've got a lot of CFOs and a lot of finance teams who are now asking, like, well, now that I need to directly report and measure on ESG, how am I going to go and do that without the data? And that's a place where, mCloud and the AssetCare solution comes into play. There are a number of others. I think, if you take a look at the future of work, especially post-COVID, and, our ability to look at what life looks like as the pandemic restrictions ease, I think it's pretty fair to say that, a lot of businesses are not going to return to pre-COVID state in terms of the way that they work. So the kind of remote connectivity that we provide, whether that's, you know, the stuff that we do in smart buildings, looking at ways in which we can make these workplaces safer through better indoor air quality, or just providing remote access to these buildings. That way people can adjust and address mechanical issues without needing to be on site, all the way through to the stuff that we're doing with 3D digital twins and creating 3D replicas that allow teams around the world to actually work on a site without needing to be there. All of those technologies are major growth drivers for us. We see those as really big opportunities for us this year, as all of these businesses that we work with, they're all grappling with what the future looks like. And, you know, there's definitely a place for mCloud and what we do with AssetCare with them.
Very good. All right, Barry, before I let you go, my last question for you, you know, mCloud has presented at 2 of our virtual events so far this year, one in January and then just recently in April. You know, what would you say is the #1 question that you get asked from investors at our events, at any event, or just in general? And maybe we can answer it right now.
Yeah, it's a good question. You know, I'm not sure that there's a #1 question. I get asked a lot of different questions about
I'm
progress.
sure.
I think everyone kind of wants to know, you know, like a lot of the press releases we put out there are always kind of talking about the things that we do, major partnerships, major deals and opportunities. And they're always kind of wondering, you know, like, well, you know, what goes on behind the scenes? And what I can say to that is that there's a lot of stuff that happens every day that isn't necessarily press release worthy. That happens, you know, I'll just kind of mention as like one example. You know, we were working with a customer, an oil and gas customer, who's actually taken on our HVAC technology for use in their facility. So we were able to connect a whole bunch of their mobile buildings out in the field, just using our technology. So the same building, the same technology that we're using in commercial buildings like quick service restaurants is actually helping this customer out in the field look at ways to manage humidity, manage their temperature and comfort, as well as their indoor air safety. All of that technology is like a really good example of the kind of crossover that I think we're seeing across all the different industries. But it's like a really good example of the kind of growth that happens every day, and not necessarily the stuff that we talk about every day.
And to be fair, I mean, this is a customer that you've already recognized revenue from or reported in your earnings and whatnot. Just want to make it clear that it may not be press release worthy, but it has been reflected in the earnings.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
all right. Just want to make sure.
Absolutely.
Got you. You know, we want to make sure.
No, good point. You know, like one of the things that we do a really good job of is once we're inside a customer's organization, once we're working with them, there are always lots of these opportunities for us to go and get connected, look at ways to drive better efficiencies from them across the board. And so that's really one really good example of that in practice, is us being able to start in one industry and then them saying like, well, you know, this stuff that you do in other sectors, that could be really useful for us too.
Right. All right. Very good. Well, Barry, with that, where can my audience go and find more information about mCloud?
Check out our website, www.mcloudcorp.com. Definitely drop us a line if you've got any questions. We'd be happy to answer them anytime.
Very good. Barry, thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. Good luck, stay safe, and I look forward to our next update.
Absolutely. Thanks, Robert.